You're listening to the Holistic Nootropics Podcast, your home for holistic, evidence-based cognitive enhancement strategies. And now your host, Eric Levi.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Holistic Nootropics podcast. My name is Eric, and on this podcast, we discuss using nootropics, biohacking, and nutrition to help you boost your cognition. If you are new to the podcast, and please take a second and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this or you're listening to this, hit subscribe in your podcast player. Leave a nice review if you can, and comment over on the YouTube page. A lot of directions here. You know what to do. You've done this before. You're not new to tech. If you found this podcast, it's probably not your first podcast. So do the things you can do to make the podcast grow. You know how to be a good person. That's what we're all here for. Today, my guest is Catherine Arnston. Catherine is an expert in algae nutrition, a wellness thought leader, experienced entrepreneur, and sought-after speaker. She has an MBA, a BA with honors, and is a board-certified health coach. She's also the founder of Energy Bits, which we're going to talk about today, and we're going to talk about all of her knowledge in the algae and wellness space. Catherine, welcome to the Holistic Nootropics Podcast.
Thank you so much, Eric. Yeah, I'm jazzed just listening to you.
Well, that's a good start. Hopefully we didn't lose anybody on that intro. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into the podcast in just a second. But first, I do want to mention that Catherine here will be a featured speaker at the Biohacking Congress taking place in October in Miami, Florida. You have an amazing excuse to get away and go to Miami, be a part of one of the first biohacking conferences to be happening since the pandemic started. And you can see Catherine speak live. And the good thing is we've actually partnered with the Biohacking Congress to give you, the Holistic Nootropics Podcast listeners and viewers, a 50% off discount on your in-person ticket. So you can save a whole bunch of money, get on a plane or get in a car, drive down to Miami, go check out the Biohacking Congress with Catherine. And again, some of the top voices and people in the biohacking and wellness space. Now, I get it.
And
maybe
October 16th and 17th.
October 16th and 17th. Yes, indeed. So mark it on your calendars, folks. Now, I totally get it if you want to be a part of the conference, but maybe, you don't have time to go. You don't have the whatever it is to travel to Miami. Maybe getting on a plane and wearing a mask with a bunch of people is kind of weird to you right now. I get it. We're in a different world. If you can actually watch the Biohacking Conference or Biohacking Congress from your home, you can get a virtual ticket for free from me to you. I got a whole bunch of them to give to all the Holistic Nootropics listeners.
That's a sweet deal.
It is a deal. And here's the even better part of the deal. You can get that ticket for free from me to you. All you got to do is leave a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts of the Holistic Nootropics Podcast. So you go into your phone, you go online, go to Apple Podcasts, leave the Holistic Nootropics Podcast a 5-star review, take a screenshot of that, and then email it to me over at info@holisticnootropics.com. As soon as I see your review and I see your smiling face and you're smiling, whatever you get on an email, I will shoot you over a free virtual ticket so you can watch the Biohacking Congress from the comfort of your own home or coffee shop, or wherever you do this sort of thing. It's a great deal. Be sure to take advantage of it. And I certainly appreciate you tuning in for these amazing podcasts. Catherine, again, let's get into it with you.
Okay. Yes. Well, I talk about all things algae and people probably scratch their head and say, isn't that the stuff that in my aquarium or my swimming pool or the algae blooms? And well, it is all algae, but the algae we're going to be talking about is a game changer for your health. It's as paleo, ancestral, original biohacking food, and it has been here for 4 billion years, and it's going to be just rock your world. So buckle in, because you're going to learn a lot of stuff that's really cool for your brain and your wellness overall. So it's pretty cool stuff.
And now I'm pumped because, you think about algae and it's one of those things. Okay. Unless you're a biology professor, you probably don't think about algae all that much, but it's actually pretty crucial to the, what would you call
the
it?
World.
Like the world.
Yeah.
El mundo, as they say. And so I want to get into, the science. I want to get into, your role and how you found algae, but I would love to know your background.
Sure.
What got you into the wellness space, and then what led you down the road into working with algae and helping to get it out to more and more people.
Yeah. Well, I certainly didn't, as a child, wake up and go, oh, I want to be an algae expert, like other people want to be a policeman or a nutritionist or whatever. So I had a completely different career for 30 years. I did an MBA in international business. I was doing international business, minding my own business. And then out of the blue, my younger sister in Canada, and I'm Canadian, developed breast cancer. Now, first of all, I wanted people to know she's completely healed and is 11 years cancer-free. So very happy ending to her story. But when she went to her oncologist, which is a cancer specialist, to prepare for her chemo, and this was 13 years ago, so a long time ago, her oncologist said, I want you to change your diet to an alkaline diet because it was help with your healing. Now, she didn't tell her what an alkaline diet was or why it was good for her. So the first call my sister made was to me because I'm her big sister who loves her. And I'm just a really good researcher. I can find out anything. So I said, hey, I have no idea what this alkaline diet stuff is, but we will find out and we will do this together. So onto the internet I jumped, and you can too. It's basically foods that are plant-based because of the chlorophyll, the phytonutrients that have been proven for centuries to build your immune system. So I read like 8 or 9 books, gave her lots of tips, suggested things that she should eliminate from her diet. And as I said, she completely healed. In the process of helping her, though, I started reading about plant-based nutrition. Now, you have to remember, this was 13 years ago. Nobody was talking about plant-based nutrition then, like nobody. And after reading all these, hundreds of articles and at least dozens of books, I thought, man, someone's got to tell the rest of the world about this. So I'm just a very passionate, action-oriented individual. And I thought, well, I have no idea how I'm going to do it. But I'm going to try. So I thought, well, first thing I need is some credentials. So I enrolled myself at a school called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I got a 1-year health coaching certificate, which gave me enough of a grounding of nutrition. And then I thought, well, I guess I'll teach plant-based nutrition. So I put my own curriculum together and I taught plant-based nutrition at corporations and hospitals, and basically anybody who would let me in, and they were free. But this is where my true epiphany that led me to algae. My epiphany was this: as I was teaching people the importance of eating vegetables and greens, I realized I wasn't telling them anything that they didn't already know. I mean, all of us, our mothers have been trying to get us to eat our veggies since we were kids, right? So I wasn't giving them anything new. But what I did learn is that even though people wanted to eat more vegetables, there were too many obstacles. Yeah, they didn't live near a grocery store. And of course, veggies weigh a lot, so they didn't want to carry them home. They took too much room in their fridge. It took too long to clean, to cook, to eat. Their husbands wouldn't eat them. Their kids wouldn't eat them. They go bad too quickly, yada, yada, yada. Endless obstacles. So I thought, okay, I've seen the science. I know what green nutrition does for people. I have to find a way to get the green nutrition into them in a way that's fast, easy, and safe, effortless. I'm looking for an effortless solution. Back to the drawing board, back to the internet. Basically, I looked at everything I found for my sister with a deeper dive in the science and practicality. Nothing was working, took months. And then I got to algae. That's when the miracle happened. And that's when I realized I had found a solution that was a game changer for the world and for everyone. And here's why. First of all, algae is the most alkaline food in the world. And that's what got me started on this. And we could talk about the importance of an alkaline pH at your cellular level or your blood, depending on how much time we have. That's a whole podcast in its own right. It's also the most nutrient-dense food in the world. And that's not my opinion. We have a quote from NASA that says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits and vegetables. I'm going to say that again, 1 to 1,000. That is crazy. And we're going to talk about how we sell our algae, which are in tiny little tablets. And each one of these little tablets has the equivalent of the nutrition of an entire plate of vegetables. I'm going to hold one up to the camera so you can see. 1 plate of vegetables is in each one of those tablets. And because you can swallow these, you can also add them to smoothies or you can chew them, but most people do swallow them. It's effortless. There is no excuse not to get your green vegetables. If you can swallow water, if you can breathe, you can get the nutrition that you and your family and your kids and your pets and your grandparents need effortlessly. So anyways, alkaline, nutrient dense. Oh, it's also got the highest concentration of protein in the world. And the United Nations has endorsed spirulina. We're going to talk about the 2 algae, spirulina and chlorella. They've endorsed spirulina as the answer to world hunger since 1974 because spirulina has 3 times the amount of protein as steak. And we're going to talk about the importance of protein because it's necessary for building everything in your body, whether it's your bones, your organs, or your skin. It's also the most studied food in the world. So I don't make any of this stuff up. There are 50,000 documented studies, scientific studies, most of them in the NIH library about spirulina, and another 40,000 about chlorella that document all the benefits I'm going to tell you about, including more. Things like increasing your energy, increasing your brain health, reducing chronic diseases, whether it's Alzheimer's or heart disease, removing toxins, helping with your gut biome, improving your athletic performance, improving your skin and hair health. I don't make any of this stuff up. This is all science-based. And on top of that, algae's been used around the world for centuries, most notably in Asia, where it is a multi-billion, that's with a B, billion-dollar agricultural crop. Yes, a couple important things there. Algae is not a supplement. Algae is a food crop. It's no different than broccoli or kale. It's grown in fresh water. And then we just dry it into little tablets. So I'm going to show you a picture here. That's a spirulina farm. You can't show me a supplements farm. We're going to address the importance of this because when you eat food, you come from nature and food comes from nature. So your body knows how to absorb it, recognizes all the nutrients, and puts it to work. When you eat supplements, take supplements, they're made from extracts in a plant with high heat that destroys the molecular chemistry of the nutrients, and your body doesn't recognize them. So getting your nutrients from food like algae is much more, well, first of all, they're absorbed easier and they have a greater impact on your health. And in Asia, in Japan, they don't take supplements anyways. They take chlorella algae, which is one of the algae we're going to talk about. Every day, they wouldn't imagine a day without chlorella algae. And by the way, they have the lowest cancer rates, lowest obesity rates, longest longevity, great skin and hair. And I figure a lot of it has to do with the algae. So here I found something that was effortless to take, science-based, endorsed by international agencies like the United Nations and NASA, used safely around the world for over 80 years, and using, in fact, centuries ago, the Egyptians used to wrap themselves in it. The Aztecs took it for hundreds of years. So documented use that goes way back. And it's also the only problem it seemed with algae was that the quality was poor because it came mostly from China. And in America or anywhere outside of Asia, nobody really knew what it was or what it did. And the packaging was really weird. So I decided that having seen the science and seen the efficacy of it, I was going to devote the rest of my life helping people understand what algae is, providing them with the safest, purest form of it in a way that was effortless to take, easy to travel with, and had no counterindications whatsoever. So that was 11 years ago. I'm 11 years in. I probably have at least 11 years to go, but we're making progress. People are starting to believe us. And I remind people, algae isn't new. It's just new to you. And it's no different than maybe 5 years ago, you didn't know about collagen, or 10 years ago, you didn't know about chia or kiwa or CBD or matcha. And yet those were our food groups and nutrients that have existed for centuries in other countries. It just took someone some time to introduce them to you and explain them to you. And we're doing the same thing with algae and making sure that it's the highest quality and most appropriately sold, because we only sell through doctors and nutritionists and chiropractors and functional medicine, where we do third-party lab tests. So you get the expert recommending us because they've seen our science, and we provide them with all the answers that they need. So it's been quite a journey, and I'm really just at the starting gate.
Well, you're doing a great job, and you are I would say definitely the first person I've heard talk so much about algae. I've heard it kind of like as an aside by nutritionists, like, hey, algae's not a bad idea. But I was not familiar that it was so researched and that there was so much actual.
Nobody does. The funny thing about algae is that it's not that there's a lack of science about algae. There's literally too much. Yeah. And I've gone to science algae conferences. And here's the thing. Scientists like to talk to other scientists. They have PhDs and they have PhD jargon. They don't know how to talk to us mere mortals. And it probably ultimately worked out to the best that I didn't come from a science background, because I had to teach myself biochemistry and physiology, because I used to speak at triathlon clubs and tell the athletes, hey, take algae. It's a great thing for you as a pre-workout. It gives you so much energy. And by the way, we still fuel Olympic teams, NHL teams, but I would literally get heckled by the athletes in the crowd, because they said to me, how can something with 1 calorie, because there's only 1 calorie per tablet, there's also 0 carbs, by the way. They said, how can something with 1 calorie give me energy? This is when I first started way back, 9 years ago. And it was like, I'll have to get back to you on that. And so that began my deep dive into understanding the nutrients that are in algae and how they miraculously meet all the needs of the body, so that your brain and your body, your skin, your health work optimally. And I want to do a bit of a deep dive on the 2 algae, so that you can understand just the tidbit of the science that exists, so that you can understand that it's not smoke and mirrors. It's just the perfect marriage of nutrition and the body's needs.
And I want to do that too. But first, I want you to explain, if you can, what exactly is an alkaline diet, and why is it effective, and why is it preferred by oncologists for people with cancer?
Yes. Well, a couple of things. First of all, there's a different pH in all of your body parts. So your stomach lining is very acidic, because it needs to be acidic to digest food. Your cellular structure and your blood also have slightly different pHs, but they are generally more alkaline. Your cells are more alkaline, and your blood, frankly, is right in the middle. It's 7.34. The pH scale goes from 0 to 14. So let me talk about the cellular pH first, because that dates back to a Nobel Prize winner by the name of Otto Warburg, a German scientist, who discovered that no cancer, and frankly, no disease, can exist in an alkaline environment. It only exists in an acidic environment at the cellular level. Because what happens when you either have too many foods that are acidic, or you're too stressed, which releases hormones which are acidic, it gathers in your cells. And so because there's more acidity, there's less oxygen. And when there's less oxygen, the cell can't function properly. The mitochondria can't generate ATP. The cell wall cannot release toxins. Nutrients can't get in. It's a slippery slope, just gets worse and worse. And so because it's so acidic, the cells start to collapse in terms of their health, and they stop communicating with one another, and it starts to lead to what's called rogue cells, which can develop into cancer or any kind of chronic disease. But it all starts with that alkaline environment, and oxygen is critical to maintaining that alkaline environment at the cellular level. And things like chlorophyll introduce oxygen to the cell. And we're going to talk a lot about oxygen and chlorophyll in a minute, but I'll show you one quick picture. This is a cellular structure of chlorophyll.
I think it's upside down. Sorry.
Oh, hemoglobin. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Hemoglobin is here and chlorophyll is on the other side. So chlorophyll has a magnesium atom in the middle, and your hemoglobin has an iron atom in the middle, which is what carries oxygen. So, and this is a great segue to the pH of the blood and why it needs to be so neutral. Because when you have a healthy blood, which is generated by having lots of chlorophyll, then that oxygen, it's oxygen rich. So it can feed your cellular structure, your brain, your organs with the nutrients that it needs. And when you're eating too much acidic food or doing other things, there's less oxygen in your blood, and so there's less oxygen getting to your organs. By the way, COVID was not just a disease of the lungs. It's a blood disorder, because all viruses are also acidic. And COVID in particular, what it did is it would go into your blood and kick out the iron atom that's in the middle of your hemoglobin and insert itself. And so now your blood no longer has the oxygen atom or iron atom, so it can no longer carry oxygen. This is why people who suffered deaths from COVID usually die from a heart attack, because the blood is circulating, but there's no oxygen in it, because the COVID virus has kicked out the iron atom, which carries oxygen. This shows you the importance of having oxygen in your blood, because without oxygen in your blood, there is no life. It's just really that simple. So the Otto Warburg found that cancer only exists in the acidic state at the cellular level. And part of that problem is when your blood becomes too acidic. And I'll get back to the pH. So when your blood is that 7.34, which is right in the middle. Now, when you eat too many acidic foods, your body intuitively and instinctively goes red alert, red alert. That's going to throw off my pH. So what it does is it pulls calcium, magnesium, all the minerals that are stored in your bones and in your organs and your cells into the blood. Like it's instant to neutralize that. But if that happens over and over and over again, that causes osteoporosis. It diminishes the quality and the strength of your immune system. Again, this is why my sister's doctor wanted her to have an alkaline diet, so that didn't occur. And I'll just, again, on the blood issue, the blood, the hemoglobin cells have a negative charge around them. And the reason for that is so they don't clump. If you've ever held two magnets up to one another, you know how they repel one another, right? So your hemoglobin is the same way. With a negative charge around it, they repel one another so they don't clump. Now, when you have an acidic environment, whether it's from COVID or eating too much acidic food or whatever, it strips off that negative charge. And so now the blood clumps because it can't repel one another. And so that causes two things to happen. They're distorted, so they can't hold the iron atom very well, so it can no longer carry the oxygen, which then causes less oxygen to get to your cells, which causes the cascade effect of an acidic cellular structure getting more acidic because it doesn't have enough oxygen. And because it's clumping, they're fat and they can't make their way through the tiny capillaries. So again, that deteriorates the quality and the efficacy and the amount of oxygen getting to your brain or to your cells. So you can see how they're connected, both the cellular level pH and the blood pH. But our bodies are so smart, so that, and Mother Nature, who created us, is so smart. She created this gorgeous piece of equipment, but it needs certain things to function properly. We know more about our cell phones than we do about our bodies. And we know that when our phone runs out of juice, you plug it back in to recharge it. Well, your body doesn't have a little red light that says, I need a quart of, magnesium, or you're down, 20% on your protein, or you got way too much, whatever. We have to use our own intelligence and our knowledge to inform ourselves about what our body needs. And each one of us is slightly different. So there isn't really an operating manual when we're born. We kind of have to stumble around the dark, learn as much as we can from experts and from podcasts like yours, and try to put the pieces together. But there are some basics, like this business about alkaline pH at the cellular level, that we need to be aware of so that we can give our bodies what they need to avoid illness.
Wow, that's a great, anatomy, physiology, chemistry tutorial on how alkaline versus acidic environments in a cell works. That's amazing. And I certainly just learned a lot. But I would love to know now, knowing what we now know about, these atomic charges and how, the iron interacts with the oxygen at the cell. How does now Chlorella or Spirulina, how does that get there and affect that whole situation?
Sure. So remember I said at the beginning that NASA has this quote about 1 gram of algae having the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits or vegetables. So the reality is we're getting sick. Everyone's getting sick. They got cancer, diabetes, heart disease, it's just endless what's going on. And it's caused by two main reasons. One is we aren't getting the nutrients we need. And two, we have too many toxins in our body. Our immune systems were not built to sustain this kind of toxic load. And even the few toxins that are studied in isolation. They don't ever look at the layering effect that occurs. You get a little bit of air pollution here, and you get a little bit of lead from your pipes there, and you get a little bit of pesticide from your vegetables here. And, over time, it just accumulates in your body, and your body just starts to break down because it's acidic. And so the mitochondria are damaged and they don't reproduce very well. And so you start to get to fatigue, and then you start to getting weight loss or, gaining weight and your brain fog. So those two things, lack of nutrition and too many toxins. And algae solves both of those problems. They do it differently. One is the spirulina and the other one's chlorella. And I'll talk to you about why you take one over the other, although they work best when they're taken together, not at the same time necessarily, but certainly they both fill all your nutritional gaps. And in fact, it's one of the few foods you could probably live on forever because it is such a rich, balanced food. Not only does it have 18 of the 20 aminos, the balance of the aminos are in the right proportion to meet the body's needs. So that's what's causing so much of our illness. And so it's amazing to me that algae addresses both of them, and I can walk you through how and why.
Yes, please do. That's what I would love to know. And I will, in full transparency, say that I did not know there was a difference between algae, chlorella versus spirulina.
Yeah,
I know those are two different things, but I didn't know they both were.
That's okay. Brothers. That's why I'm doing these podcasts. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm glad that you even knew of them, even if you didn't know the distinction, because 99% of people outside of Asia don't even know of algae, other than that they think of it as pond scum, or it's a bloom in the oceans that's interfering with their sunbathing. And by the way, algae gets a bum rap on that algae bloom stuff because algae only shows up after there's bacteria. Algae is actually the cleanup crew, okay? So don't blame the algae. It's the fact that there's more bacteria, more runoff, more people peeing in the water that's causing the bacteria, which attracts algae. You may not know this. Of course, you wouldn't know this, but I do. Algae is used at virtually every single water treatment plant, certainly in North America, probably the world, because, drum roll, it kills bacteria. So, like I said, the scientists have known about algae for decades. It's just that, for us poor consumers, heaven. And so I'm trying to get that word out. So let's back up about algae and the two different algae so you can understand it. So first of all, I want you to understand that algae was the first life on Earth almost 4 billion years ago. And they've got fossils to prove it. It was first spirulina. And then about 1 billion years after that, chlorella. And algae still releases 80% of the oxygen on Earth. And so when it first showed up, it's released so much oxygen that, 1 billion years later, other life forms could show up. And eventually we had life as we know it. So it's been here forever, way before us. And I mention that because algae is everywhere. It's in the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, the streams, the soil. Yes, your swimming pool. Yes, your aquarium. And there's two main types of algae. One, I'm sure I call it macroalgae, and it's not just me, it's just general terminology, macroalgae and microalgae. We're going to be talking mostly about microalgae, but let me tell you what macroalgae is, because they're all part of the same family. So it's the seaweed, dulse, kelp. It's that big stringy stuff that washes up on shore. Now, it has a lot of iodine and it has a lot of fiber. So there's lots of redeeming features, reasons why you should eat seaweed, but it has virtually no nutrition, nothing compared to microalgae. Now, microalgae is called microalgae because it's microscopic in size. Something like 1 million cells of algae can fit on the head of a pin of microalgae. This is how tiny it is. And it feeds everything in the ocean, from the whales to the fish. And there's tens of thousands of strains of microalgae, of which one is called blue-green and the other one is called green. There are other strains, but these are the two main ones. And within blue-green and green, there are thousands of strains of those, of which One blue-green algae is called spirulina, and one green algae is called chlorella. Now, you might read about a blue-green algae being toxic, and I'll say, yes, absolutely, if it came from the ocean. But spirulina and chlorella do not come from the ocean. They are harvested as food crops. They're grown hydroponically, and whether you buy it from us or from Target, it's the same. Generally the same, although we're world renowned for having the highest quality and the purest and safest, and we do third-party lab tests. But nonetheless, spirulina and chlorella are grown in fresh water. That's very important you understand that, because A, it's not related to the ocean, so there's no toxicity issue, and B, they're the most sustainable crops in the world and don't even use any land, and we can talk about that as well. So spirulina and chlorella. Well, spirulina has been, as I mentioned, is endorsed by United Nations as the answer to world hunger because it has 3 times the amount of protein in steak. It has the highest protein in the world, and it's known for being nourishing and energizing. So a lot of people don't know about spirulina, can't spell it, can't say it. So we call our spirulina energy bits because I thought that was a lot more sort of intuitive for people. If you see something called energy bits, you assume it's going to give you energy. And it gives you energy in many ways. And this is what I had to find out for my triathlon club people. So first of all, it has all those amino acids, and they're all, the protein is in amino acids. So there's nothing for your body to have to do to get access to the aminos. Normally, when you eat animal protein, it can take up to 2 or 3 days for your body to break it down into aminos so it can be absorbed, and you end up with about 5 or 10% of it. And your digestion takes 15% of your energy. So if there's no digestion required, you get literally 15% of your energy back to do other great things. So very high in protein, and spirulina is technically a bacteria. It does not have a cellulose wall. Why is that important? Because all that rich amino acids are absorbed instantly into your bloodstream because there is nothing for your body to have to break down to gain access to it. Also, spirulina is loaded with B vitamins. If you've ever seen an energy drink, you'll see that it's loaded with B vitamins. B vitamins convert glucose and protein into energy. Spirulina also has very high amounts of iron, which, remember I mentioned earlier, carries oxygen, and that's energizing to your brain and to your body. It helps your body release nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is what's called a vasodilator, which opens up your blood vessels so that your blood can flow faster and bring more oxygen and bring more nutrients to your brain and to your body so that you can think and move faster. It's loaded with essential fatty acids like omega-3, which again are very helpful for your brain thought. It has boron, which facilitates synapse thought. So overall, it's very energizing. So, and it's not the kind of energy that you would get from caffeine or sugar. It's just from nutrition. So it's very steady. You almost don't even notice it. The best way to describe how you'll feel is you'll just feel fresh. That's it. Nothing more. No lightning bolts, no men leaping off the tall buildings in a single bound. You just feel fresh and ready. Pretty sweet. And there's 0 carbs, 1 calorie, 40 vitamins and minerals, all your electrolytes, and everything comes from food, so it works harmoniously in your body. It is the easiest food to consume. It's given to newborns, pets, granddads, grandmoms, every age group, no interactions. It's the perfect food. In fact, I will tell you, I saw a chart that identified the nutrient value of mother's breast milk and all the aminos in the breast milk. And I thought, gosh, that looks awfully familiar. And sure enough, I checked back with spirulina, and it was virtually the same. It was the same aminos in virtually the same proportions. And we know that mother's breast milk is the perfect food. Well, guess what? Spirulina and chlorella are next in line because they are virtually identical. So pretty amazing, huh?
That's great. And it's so in line with the way that I see this whole picture, because, the reason I have the Holistic Nootropics podcast was because I found in the nootropics community and the biohacking community, there's so much of this kind of pharmaceutical approach to supplementation where it's like, okay, I got this supplement to hit this neurotransmitter. And then I got this supplement to hit the liver. And then I'm going to come back with this supplement and hit the liver again. And then I'm going to get this one for my blood sugar. And before you know it, you got like 30 supplements you're taking every day. You have a, you know, a $5,000 a month supplement habit. And I'm not saying that, hey, you should trade all the supplements in for algae. But what I like about it is it kind of seems to cover your wellness base where you go, okay, I got some algae in my life. And I'm not saying this because, hey, you know, you're on the podcast with talking about algae. I'm saying this because I've seen this, you know, myself in a lot of people's protocols and in a lot of, you know, different health recommendations, which is you want this stuff in your body because it's basically a boon to the whole system so that you don't have to over supplement with all of this other stuff because you will feel better. You're not going to get a caffeine buzz, but you're going to get, I always say it like this, like you should wake up in the morning and shoot out of bed like a cannon. If you got that going, then you're probably doing okay. And then you can get to bed at night and sleep fine. Right. Yeah. It has nothing to do with a coffee buzz, has nothing to do with, you know, Adderall or modafinil or any of this stuff. I always tell people, if you want a lot of energy, just do cocaine. You know, it's like, let's just cut to the chase. I know it's not great, but nobody wants to do that. Okay. So then where do we go? Well, we got to feed the body the things it needs. And algae seems like one of those nutrients. And man, you just talking about nothing on earth, just algae, billion years, so much oxygen given out, and then there's life. And I've read this in biology books and all this stuff, and I know it's true. But you don't think about it until you're listening to this and you go, oh yeah, why would I not want that in my body?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I call it nutritional insurance because it gives you everything that you need with no effort. Like these little tablets are you just swallow them or add them to a smoothie. They're effortless. You can get all the nutrition that you need effortlessly. What else will do that for you? Number one. Number two is just like, I tell people, instead of asking yourself, why would you take algae? Ask yourself, why wouldn't you? Why don't you, like, if you could have something that answers all of your body's mental and physical needs and has zero carbs and zero chemicals and only makes everything else better or work better, like, wouldn't you want that? So it's pretty powerful stuff. It was, I figure it was a gift to us from Mother Nature. It's just no one's ever explained everything to anything about it to you. So that's I take a lot of pride of going into the deep science so I can go toe to toe with medical professionals, and I can answer them in their PhD jargon language if necessary. But I'm really here to help the mainstream consumer understand the science in a way that doesn't sort of overwhelm them, because everyone's on a fast pace and they want answers now. But, taking all those different supplements, it's a bit like trying to fix your own car. Maybe you'll try to tweak this because you heard that was a good thing. And then you got another problem somewhere else because the balance is off. And then you go try to tweak that and then something else. You're constantly going to be jiggering something by playing around with all these tools that you really aren't very well informed about. And you could do yourself some damage, But when you eat food that's already been used, by the way, around the world for centuries and proven in scientific studies, and it's also what's called an adaptogen. If you don't need the nutrient, you simply don't absorb it. So there, and it never goes bad. I tell people, I hate throwing out vegetables, but I can't eat as many vegetables as I used to because I have so much algae. And so this is shelf stable. We put an expiry date of 2 or 3 years on it, but literally it never goes bad. Algae is the strangest. It's a hybrid. It's not technically a plant. And so it didn't start on the soil, for example. It started in the ocean. And even if the growing conditions deteriorate, algae never dies. Like a corn crop or tomato crop, no sun, no water, it just dies, right? Not algae. It just goes dormant until the growing conditions return. And a funny example of that is there was a crew from the National Geographic that went to the North Pole, and they took some ice and they carbon dated it to a couple billion years old, and they found some algae on it. And out of just curiosity, they threw the algae into a petri dish with some water, and the darn thing started growing again. So it's so unusual. It also doesn't have lectins or oxalates. I was just on Dr. Stephen Gundry's podcast, who's got a great book called The Plant Paradox. And he warns people about oxalates and lectins, which can be damaging to your stomach lining. But algae doesn't have them because plants develop those to protect themselves from predators like bugs and animals, and they're poisonous to the bugs and animals, and they can be poisonous to humans as well. But algae, because it didn't start as a land plant, didn't have to develop any of those defenses. So it's harmless.
Yeah, and you actually hit on something I was going to get to, which is there is a backlash right now against vegetables, believe it or not. And it's not because like, oh, they're so gross. My mom made me eat them, blah, blah, blah. It's, there's people out there pushing, certain diets that are saying, hey, vegetables can be certainly problematic in a lot of ways. And look, I've had several people on this podcast talking about oxalate specifically. And I've gone low oxalate myself a long time ago. It was a pretty good, decision for me. And it was a game changer. The problem with that, though, is you are throwing the baby out with the bathwater because there are so many healthy foods that are high in oxalates and high in lectins. So for those people who can't eat that stuff, and are at their wits' end, they've got the SIBO, they've got all these gut disorders, they've got, just a hard time being able to, eat vegetables without feeling like their stomach is about to, burst out of their body. This is a great, this is the answer for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll slide over to Chlorella next. But a great segue is Chlorella has been used for decades for IBS, Crohn's, SIBO, because, A, as you're going to find out, it pulls out toxins. B, the chlorophyll is very healing. And C, it actually has a little bit of fiber, a teeny bit, that feed the bacteria so they release the short chain fatty acids. So spirulina, well, what happened too, when I launched the company and I had spirulina called Energy Bits, and I noticed that women weren't buying it. And I started the company because of my sister, and I want women to feel comfortable with their algae. And so my girlfriend said, well, you got to give it a cute name and make it pink. So because there's so much protein in spirulina, I did make a second brand of spirulina and called it Beauty Bits, but it is identical to Energy Bits. A lot of people take collagen now for their skin or their joints, but I point out, first of all, collagen's not sustainable because it's made from crushed animal bones. But that, if you're looking for joint health or skin health, up level to algae because it has all the same protein as collagen, plus 40 other vitamins, minerals, and chlorophyll, and it's sustainable. So these two brands, Beauty Bits and Energy Bits, are identical. But someone said, oh, you've got a girl spirulina and a boy spirulina. So that's pretty much it. If anyone does go to our website, just want to clarify that for you.
And hey, boys, there's nothing wrong with being beautiful. There's absolutely nothing wrong. Let's get rid of that stigma. In 2021, we're better than that. Feel free to let your skin glow.
It's gender neutral. There's gender. All my packaging is an homage to Mother Nature, and it's gender neutral. And if you identify with any of it, that makes me very, very happy. Okay, so spirulina, again, energizing, satisfies your hunger, great for intermittent fasting because again, no carbs, and you don't get hangry. So Chlorella is, so most people take spirulina in the morning, in the afternoon, or before a workout, because that's when you're hungry or you want energy and you want focus and all that sort of stuff, or for your workout. Chlorella is a completely different algae. It's a green algae, and it's a wellness algae. And we're going to talk about what makes it a wellness algae, but it helps you basically recover your health, recover from sports, recover from drinking. So we call ours Recovery Bits because we thought that was a whole lot easier than Chlorella, which people can't say or spell. So unlike spirulina, which has the highest protein in the world, Chlorella has the highest chlorophyll in the world. It has 500 times more chlorophyll than arugula. And this is another, you were mentioning about, people bashing vegetables, and I can understand why, because quite honestly, these days, there's so little nutrients in the vegetables anyways, because the soils are so damaged. Even if you eat organic, they're flown in from far, far away. They're harvested before they're completely ripe, so all the enzymes can't get to the leaves or the fruit. Mm-hmm. So you're eating calories and you're eating fiber, but you're not getting nutrition. So Chlorella, because it's so concentrated in chlorophyll, you could eat a room full of arugula and not come close to the chlorophyll that's in a single serving of Chlorella. It's called Chlorella because of the chlorophyll. So what's so important about chlorophyll? Well, here's that chart again. Remember, I showed you how the hemoglobin and chlorophyll are virtually identical. So if you're looking to build your blood, because if you have healthy blood, you're going to have healthy bones, healthy brain, healthy immune system. This is the way to do it, is with chlorophyll. Chlorophyll has been used for forever until the last 50 years when the pharmaceutical companies got hold of us. Even up as recently as the World War II, they would give chlorophyll to the injured because they would heal just as fast as if they had a blood transfusion. That's how healing it is, chlorophyll. Chlorophyll can be used topically on injuries as well. And naturopaths and homeopaths still recommend chlorophyll. But even still, a lot of people are now buying liquid chlorophyll, but chlorella even has 25 times more chlorophyll than liquid chlorophyll, because liquid chlorophyll is made from alfalfa sprouts. There's nothing with more chlorophyll than chlorella algae. Okay, so spirulina, the most protein, chlorella, the most chlorophyll. Spirulina has no cellular wall. Chlorella has the hardest cellular wall. It sort of reminds me of how siblings, they have to be different from one another. You want to do that. You want to be the arty person, and I'll be the business person. So chlorella's hard cell wall is very important because it attaches to toxins of any kind. Doesn't matter whether it's heavy metals like lead, mercury, aluminum, which is also in vaccines. It attaches to alcohol. If you've had wine, beer, or spirits, it attaches to lactic acid. So athletes take it after a workout to pull out lactic acid so their muscles aren't sore. But we are so loaded with toxins. It doesn't matter whether it's, again, from glyphosate or, toxins in your cosmetics. This pulls it out. We have a protocol for Lyme disease where it pulls out the dead mites. By the way, people probably don't know this, but our bodies have, I think, something like 60 trillion cells die every day in our bodies. 60 trillion. And dead cells are toxic. So if you don't remove those dead cells, they become toxic, attract bacteria. This affects the cellular pH. You become more acidic. See what happens? So it's not just the toxics that are exogenous. It's the toxins that are endogenous, that are inside us as well. So we all have to find a way to get rid of these toxins. I say taking chlorella is like having a shower on the inside every day. We take a shower on the outside. You need a shower on the inside too. So chlorella does that for you. The other thing about chlorophyll, as I mentioned, or I may not have yet, but it heals the cell walls. Now, your health, whether it's good or bad, all start at the cellular level, and the mitochondria that are in the cellular level, in the cells. And to keep those mitochondria healthy, you have to be sure that you keep the antioxidants, lots of antioxidants, so they don't get damaged by the reactive oxygen species. You have to be sure that there aren't too many toxins in there because it could change the pH of the cell. So one of the ways to do that is keep your cell walls permeable. And you do that with fats, omega-3s, and any kind of fat, healthy fats, not the 6s. So chlorella is a fat-based pigment. I'm going to show you a picture if I can find it. Because I find visuals really helpful. This is a picture of the spirulina it has two pigments. Remember the blue one and chlorophyll. The blue one is called phycocyanin. And see how it disperses beautifully through the water? And then here is chlorella with just chlorophyll. See how it clumps? I did this experiment 20 or 30 times. I couldn't figure out what was going on until I had my epiphany. Phycocyanin, which is in the spirulina, is a water-based pigment. Chlorophyll, and this is confirmed by science, is a fat-based pigment. So it doesn't disperse through the water like a water-based pigment does. This is why chlorophyll supports your cell walls. And when you have permeable cell walls, nutrients can get in and toxins can get out. And the best analogy I've given to people is imagine chlorophyll as window washers for your cell walls, because when your windows are dirty, you can't see out and sunlight can't get in. So when your cell walls aren't permeable or they're damaged, nutrients can't get in and toxins can't get out. And that contributes to an acidic cellular pH. It causes damage of the mitochondria, which then leads to fatigue and disease and 1,000 other things. So chlorella algae is the best way to prevent a damaged cell wall because it heals it. And the third, there's lots of other cool things about chlorella, but while we're talking about the cell wall, it does have a little bit of fiber in it, which contributes to the feeding the microbiome and the bacteria down there to release the short chain fatty acids, which is why it's been used for IBS, Crohn's, and lots of other sort of gut issues. Chlorella also has the highest amount of tryptophan in the world, which is a precursor to melatonin and serotonin. So it does help with sleep. It won't make you sleepy, it just facilitates sleep. Has the highest concentration of RNA and DNA in the world. And as you get older, these become damaged. And so they replicate in a damaged form. And it has something called Chlorella growth factor, which speeds up the growth of your cells. So you heal literally in half the time from injury or surgery. Chlorella is a game changer for your health. It has all the nutrients that your immune system need. By the way, most people, I don't know if you know this, but 80% of your immune system is in your gut. And the way your immune system works is that when you have a pathogen entering your body, like a virus or anything, your gut and your immune system will create killer cells, B cells, T cells, macrophages, all these different cells to attack, kill, and remove the pathogen. But to create those cells, your immune system needs nutrients. It needs the iron, and it needs zinc, and it needs B6, and they're all in the algae. So it's a very simple and safe and proven way to support your immune system to protect you. And also, if you are sick, to help you heal a lot faster. So most people we recommend you can take it throughout the day as you could spirulina. But since your body goes through a repair and detox cycle when you're sleeping, we certainly recommend that you take them at night. Take them any other time, but definitely take them before you go to bed, because then you'll have a much better repair and detox while you're sleeping. It's sort of like your cleanup crew. And it also stimulates peristalsis. So, elimination is a big part of health. So you'll have a very successful trip to the bathroom in the morning.
Very nice.
So the two of them, as you can see, spirulina, I say Mother Nature had a bit of a sense of humor. She gave us spirulina to get us up and, ready for the party of the day or whatever. And then she gave us chlorella when the day is over or the party is over to help us recover, pull out what we didn't need and or shouldn't have had. And we're ready to go the next day. Like, seriously, they are the power couple of the 21st century.
So would chlorella be something that's best taken with a fat?
It doesn't matter whether you take it with anything by itself. The answer is no, because it's food. A lot of things, like they say, if you want to absorb, I think the K2 from spinach, you should have it with, citrus, or some things that, supplements get absorbed better with other things. This is the problem when you, not the spinach thing, but with supplements. When you have extracts, you have to compensate for how the body would prefer to have that nutrient absorbed. When you get it from algae, you don't need to tweak anything, because it's food that's already perfectly harmonized with its enzymes and coenzymes and factors and cofactors. And the best analogy I've come up with is, when you take a supplement, to me, it's like listening to a grade 3 soloist and you barely can make out what it is that they're playing, and versus algae, which is the Boston Symphony Orchestra. It just, everything harmonizes, everything works together at the right time for the right reason, and the 1 + 1 is 21. It's because most people, and I didn't know this either. If anyone's listening, I want to assure you, whatever you're learning from me today, I didn't know this either a few years ago, but I am so deep into the algae world, and I'm so fascinated by it, because I have not found in 12 years one thing that counter anything else I'd previously learned, because that doesn't usually happen. Usually find something and then you go, oh, no, I don't know who to believe. And the nutrition has turned into the new religion wars. There's the paleo versus the vegan versus the ancestrals versus and algae plays with everybody. We don't take sides, because it works with every single choice that you make, every single diet. you should do what's best for you and don't worry about, there's a new disease, I can't think of the name of it, where people are so obsessed with their foods. And it can't, it's that obsession is what causes even more emotional distress. So algae fits in with everything. And what I started to say is we don't know much about nutrition because no one's really taught us much about it. But things like vitamin C, for example, I was stunned to find out there's actually about 222 components to vitamin C, of which ascorbic acid is one. And so all of our, virtually 90% of our vitamin C in supplements are ascorbic acid. There's a few now coming up with other things. But so when you take vitamin C as ascorbic acid, your body doesn't know what to do with it because it doesn't exist like that in nature. I tell my millennials, it's like going to work with just your shoes on. Like, where's the rest of the clothing? Like, where's the rest of the outfit? So that's one of the reasons, one of many, that I love algae is because there's nothing artificial, nothing changed. It's just grown. We air dry it. We press it into the tablets, and we call them bits because they're bits of food. That's it.
It's great.
It's simple.
It's very. I love it. Now, real quick, chlorella, right? High in chlorophyll. And I've read that chlorophyll is very high in copper, or it's a big source of copper. Is that the case for chlorella?
I'm going to pull up my nutrition charts here. Well, I actually don't think so. But here's the thing with nutrition. Like, first of all, the FDA has a labeling format that we have to follow, and we're not allowed to put 99% of what's in our product on the label because it doesn't follow regulation. So when you buy our stuff, I'll be talking, and you can see our full nutritional panel on our website. But here's the other problem: these nutritional panels, these numbers come from a third-party lab that I pay to test our algae. Now, they only test what you ask them for, and they're very expensive. So they can be anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 per test. So this was one of my first ones, but I've never heard about copper before, and I've never asked them to test for copper, and maybe I will test for copper next. So I don't have an answer for you, but we currently haven't tested for it, and I've never seen any copper statistics about it. But let me just say that because algae is an adaptogen, if you don't need the copper, you won't absorb it. This is completely different from when you take supplements. So if you take copper supplements, or please never take an iron supplement. Never, 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 never. Because they are what's called inorganic. They come from like rocks.
Yep. And
again, your body doesn't know what to do with it. So it will store it. Either not absorb or store it, and you can get into toxicity, which is a big problem for men. But with algae, the iron is from an organic source, from a live source, and algae is an adaptogen. So if you don't need the iron, your body will not absorb it, and you never get to toxicity. So I'll look into the copper situation because I actually don't have an answer for that. It's the first time. Hey, I love it. I love getting questions that I don't have answers for. So I'll check on that. But
that's fair enough. Yeah, I can't remember where I read this, but it was one of those things that just kind of popped out for chlorophyll products specifically. So I don't know if that applies to chlorella. Now, real quick before we kind of close out here, I'm just curious because you're talking about it seems you definitely do your due diligence with making sure the quality of your product is top notch. And I think that's amazing. Can you go in a little bit about the sourcing of your chlorella, where exactly it comes from and how they grow it?
Yeah. So we grow ours in Taiwan. 99.9% of algae is grown in Asia. So that's China, Japan, Taiwan, India. Most of it comes from China. But when I was reading about the quality, it kept coming up that Taiwan had the highest quality. So that's what I decided I wanted ours to be from. My long-term goal is to grow it here. And in fact, in 2019, as part of the Farm Bill, the government, White House and Senate issued the very first Algae Agricultural Act to encourage farmers to grow algae here. They provide all kinds of grants for corn and everything else. But so hopefully one day we can grow it here. It has to be at a certain temperature and all that sort of stuff. So now the two algae grow, they're called ponds, but they're hardly a pond. It's a huge industry. You have to understand it's not a little backyard thing. These companies sell 50 million a year growing it. Spirulina grows in long, narrow, sorry, the picture I showed you before, I can't find it. I think I lost it. The picture I showed you before is a long, narrow, because spirulina grows, they've planted at one end and it grows to the other. Chlorella is grown in circular ponds, as they're called. These are probably about 2 feet deep, not very deep, maybe not even 2 feet, and water. There's a churner, so the water churns, and it takes about a month to grow. And then we air dry it. Now, most companies use high heat because most other companies sell lots of products and they sell to Target and blah, blah, blah. So they need to get to market quickly. So they use high heat. Now, the problem with that is it kills the enzymes. So it's no longer a raw food. We're not a high volume company, so we don't use high heat. So our enzymes are still intact. And both spirulina and chlorella are raw foods, and spirulina is a live food. So you could take that and it would start growing. So that's pretty cool. They're both what's called high vibrational foods. So if you did any Kirlian photography, I'm also a Reiki healer. So everything in the world is about energy. And you can muscle test them, and they always pass the muscle test. So we air dry it into a powder, and then they're pressed into these little, I call them like baby muffin tins, into the tablets, and no binders of any kind, they're just pressed. And then we import them in large quantity here, and we package them at an FDA-approved facility in New Jersey. Actually, it's Pennsylvania. And the packaging is 99.9% UV protection, which means that the chlorophyll can't be pulled out. Please don't put your algae tablets in clear baggies or anything, because the light will pull the chlorophyll out. It won't damage the nutrients, but you'll lose some of the vibrancy of the chlorophyll. And so whatever. So that's, now there's a couple extra steps with chlorella. That's kind of the spirulina and pseudo chlorella. The chlorella, to start it has to start in a test tube, and then they transport it after it gets to a certain size to the pond, where then it again grows for 6 weeks. And then there's an extra step, because remember I said chlorella has that hard cell wall that it has to be cracked. And the FDA has regulated that only cracked cell wall chlorella can be sold in America. So the company that created the original technique for cracking the cell wall is Sun Chlorella. And I'm very grateful for them, because they spent 10 years to figure out, it's a very difficult crop to grow. And they figured out how to crack the cell wall. And everybody in the industry pretty much uses their technique. They license it out. It's called Dynomill. And what they do is they tumble the chlorella with glass beads, but the glass heats up, and lead from the glass leaks into the chlorella. So when I started the company, I heard that was an issue. I said, there's got to be some other way to crack the cell wall. And they had just come up with a new, more expensive technique, which is what we use. And we put the chlorella in a sound chamber, and it's vibrations that crack the chlorella, sort of like how a opera singer's voice can crack a glass or something. So that makes us a little special, because we also, there's no heat used. So again, the enzymes and the nutrients, anytime you have high heat, you scramble the cellular structure of the nutrients. So none of that happens with ours. So that is that extra step that just shows you the care that we go to make sure we have a healthy product. I mean, I'm putting stuff in people's bodies to help them be healthy. So, it's my name and my integrity and my reputation. So, which I treasure.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff.
No,
and just so you know, I take this every single day. I have for the last 11 years. I couldn't live without it. And I just want everybody else to have the same mental acuity, physical energy. My skin and hair are healthy. I'm turning 65 in a couple of weeks. And I got another 65 at least ahead of me. So
you're on that Dave Asprey protocol.
I am. Yeah, he and I we're actually very similar. He spent 10 years to get his biohacking yak butter concept out to the world, and I've spent 10 years doing getting algae out to the world. And I have a lot of respect for Dave. I've met him a few times, but hopefully we'll be helping each other get to that 120.
That's great. Yeah, it's amazing because in the supplement industry, I talk to a lot of people and especially since I've, dove into it and started really getting the research quality for me it's top. Like, why would you spend money on something that is not like with a lot of supplements, for instance, it's like, it's this vitamin or it's that mineral or it's this nutrient, whatever. And then, yes, it does have that in it, but then they completely drop the ball on the packaging, and it is the packaging that ruins the whole product. Because it's in some plastic bag or something, and then it gets shipped all the way from
sustainable. It's made from paper.
Right. That's amazing because there's certain compounds in these materials that can completely denature the product. Especially, like I live in Puerto Rico. If you live in a hot climate and that product is getting delivered to you, it's going to sit on a truck. It's going to sit on a truck on like 80, 90, 100 plus degrees. It might be sitting right out there in the sun. You don't know how many hands it passes, and completely ruins the product. And it's funny that you mentioned the packaging because it's such an important part and nobody thinks about it, but it is such I love that attention to detail.
Well, I'm probably unemployable because I've always been very detail oriented, and people live in such a fast pace. It's just like, get it done, get it. Well, I don't want to just get it done. I want to get it right.
Right. That's so important.
And that's why I turned down venture capital number of times because they're so impatient. And I knew it was going to take a while for the world to wake up to the importance of their health. I didn't care. Well, I would have liked to have gotten bigger a little faster, but maybe not, because everybody who sees the consistency of my message and the way I do things is getting me a lot of, I think, some respect. And it's only going to get better as we get bigger, so that I can do more and contribute to other health organizations that are helping people through natural modalities. We don't have to be filling ourselves up with pharmaceuticals or getting surgeries, but it's all about prevention. Illness doesn't happen overnight. Only accidents happen overnight, because cancer, anything, creeps up on you slowly. And then you have this awareness and you go, oh shit. And then you try to unravel it quickly. Doesn't unravel quickly either. So the best thing to do is never get to that point. Because, I actually wasn't exercising as much as I used to. I'm going to start up because I was working 16 hours a day. And so I developed some back issues. So I was going to some orthopedic surgeons, and it was depressing. If you want to get depressed about your life, go to a hospital or go to a orthopedic surgeon. Everybody's in walkers. They're limping. They're hunched over. That's your future. If you don't grab an opportunity like this now and start giving your body what it needs, and it's nutrition from algae, it's good sleep, it's exercise, fresh air, love, meditation. But those things are all accessible. They're not that expensive. Once you start getting sick, your entire life is spent on doctor's appointments, pain medication, and you go, shit, I wish I had done blank 5 years ago. Well, here's your chance. Don't go down that path. It's all avoidable, but you have to take ownership of your own health, because even the people with white lab coats, they honestly don't care. You're in and out. Get over it. Look after yourself. Show yourself some self-respect, some self-love. And I call this intelligent food because you have to be intelligent to take it, and knows what to do in your body. And I just don't want people, there's no need for this kind of illness in our society. We are too smart for this.
Oh my God. I tell you, I just got completely jazzed up. I'm ready to go crush some chlorella, snort that, take it right to the dome. I am so jacked up right now. I hope you.
I'm sorry, I've never gotten all worked up like that before, but I've never had any kind of health issue until I had this back pain, and then I started seeing what other people are like. It's like, oh my God, look what I've been avoiding all my life, and I'm gonna get back on track and get back to my workouts on a regular basis, because I am not gonna be one of those people with a cane.
No. I don't blame
age, you. By the way, Dave Asprey and I are going to be doing marathons together at 919. Are you on, Dave? If you're listening, I challenge you.
Love it. I love it. I love the energy. I love the passion. Man, I just want to bottle that up and just give it to everybody right now. Catherine, this is so cool. I'm so excited to actually start trying some of these energy bits. I have a whole bunch here at home. I'm going to start putting them in my smoothie. I'm going to start doing all this stuff. And I love your passion for this topic. And I really hope more people hear it. I hope more people purchase your product, not just to make you money, but because I know it's a great cause that you are so, that you've seen it happen in real life. You know why it's great. And quite frankly, 65, you look amazing. So I always say, like, if you're going to promote something, you better have the physical proof to back it up. And you got the goods,
I'm
baby.
the poster child for the fact that this stuff works. And come to the Biohacking Congress in Miami. Meet me in person. We'll have lots of product to give away. And we'll just want to make sure people get access to it. And our website is energybits.com if you want to buy any. We do sell them in the large bags or boxes. I don't want you to have sticker shock. A big bag of 1,000 tablets is $120, but we have a 20% discount code, Holistic Nootropics, all one word. So put that in, and then you'll get 20% off, and it brings it down to $96. And remember I said that NASA said 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits and vegetables. So I did the math on the weight of our bag with 1,000 tablets, and I figured out that our bag of algae tablets has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables. Now, at $3 a pound organic, that would have been about $1,500. So a bag for $96 or $1,500. That, by the way, that's vegetables that you didn't have to cook, clean, carry home from the grocery store, or eat. So it's not just the money that you're going to save, it's the time. So it's very efficient nutrition. And if you're not able to buy them, or you still want to try them out, just go to Amazon. We sell single pouches with 30 tablets in them for $4. So everybody can afford $4. Try them out, see if you like them, and then come back to energybits.com and you can get the better value out of the big bag.
Love it. Yes, go to energybits.com, use the code Holistic Nootropics, save 20%, get some chlorella and spirulina in your life. Catherine, this has been an amazing podcast. I'm so jazzed up. I'm so excited for you. And I hope the listeners go see you down at the Biohacking Congress.
You got it. All right. See you then too.
Absolutely. And listener, viewer, thank you so much for watching us and joining us today. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you remember to subscribe, leave a comment, leave a review on Apple, iTunes, and be on the lookout for more podcasts from the Holistic Nootropics. Until next time, peace.
Thanks for listening. For more brain-boosting info, in-depth articles, and show notes, check out holisticnootropics.com.